Life is an unpredictable and amazing journey. Our ever-changing conditions within today's society and the constant new trends influencing cultures can become overwhelming, to say the least. But no worries. The Network of Awareness podcast radio show brings peace of mind in these challenging times. Follow us on your favorite podcast listening app and join our community of Network of Awareness at networkofawareness.com.
We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, Aura the Informationalist.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo. How you doing? How you doing?
Yes. Peace and greetings. All praises to the Most High. Yahweh Elohim. All praises to the Messiah Christ. And welcome to the Network of Awareness, people. I decided to go live today because I was feeling the allergies was really affecting me this morning, so I didn't want to go on the broadcast sneezing. So I do apologize for the tardiness. Normally I release an episode at 7 in the morning. And this one is a hot topic. And I wanted to bring some awareness. So I want to let the listeners know that are tuning into this show that this particular episode is episode 45 of season 5, Deceptive, Diversions. And this is about that Scorpion unit. This is about police brutality. So we're going to bring some awareness to the police killing of the young man, Tyree Nichols. And I'm gonna point some things out here on the Network of Awareness, because this is very similar to George Floyd. So I'm gonna talk about a lot of things that maybe you might be aware of or you might not be aware of. But at the end of the day, this is all deceptive diversion to keep you distracted. And I'm going to make this part of the Great Distraction series. Yes, I have another series called the Great Distraction series. And this is another great distraction. Now, to the family of the Nichols family, you know, the fact that this young man died, I do feel sorry for the family and I do feel sympathy. But there's always more that meets the eye, people, and you cannot believe everything that this demonic, satanic network shows us on their televisions. Because remember, they own all of this. They own the television. They own the networks. And I'm going to point out some things that just don't make sense. And whenever it doesn't make sense, that means it makes sense when it comes to propaganda. So we're going to get into this, shall we?
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
So welcome to this live broadcast of the Network of Awareness. And it's approximately 11:05 a.m. This is Monday, January 30th. Wow, did January go by so fast? And I'm telling you, I've said this before, I'll say it again. There's never a dull moment. There's never a dull moment in the world, and there's never a dull moment in the United Shenanigans of America. And there's so much that I'm going to bring out, and I'm going to try to bring it out in a very short period of time. And I'm going to try to make this episode stay within the hour. And I'm going to try to do my best, especially when I edit it on the back end for those that are going to be downloading the show that didn't get to listen to the live broadcast. But let's look up some words here. Let's start off that way because there is so much to cover here. Okay. So much to cover. And there's so much that sometimes when I do these types of episodes, I feel like I go into different tangents that are all kind of relative to the same topic. So I'm going to try to keep as organized as possible in the way I deliver this broadcast today, because this is an important one. This is one that we should pay close attention to. And it's not one that we should be sleeping on. Now, what does the word deceptive mean? It's an adjective. It means giving an appearance or impression different from the true one, misleading. What is the definition of being deceptive? Tending or having power to cause someone to accept as true or valid is false or invalid. Okay, so that's what deceptive means. Now we're going to look up diversion, and diversion is spelled Diversion, and we're going to look up that. Diversion, it is a noun, an instant of turning something aside from its course, an activity that diverts the mind from tedious or serious concerns or recreation or pastime. I like the second one, an activity that diverts the mind from tedious or serious concerns. Well, what is a serious concern right now? Isn't the serious concern is where this country is going? As far as for you people in the United Shenanigans of America, isn't a serious concern for the world where this supposed medicine and disciples of discord and propaganda pimps are taking this world medically? Isn't that a major concern? Isn't it a major concern that we have an exuberant amount of inflation when it comes to the dollar? Isn't it a major concern that agriculture is being assaulted and perverted and completely being destroyed? Isn't that a major concern? Even on a basic level here in the United Shenanigans of America, but it's not that basic anymore. Isn't it a concern that gas prices have increased dramatically all over again when we thought we was about to start going down? Isn't it a concern that there's so many things that are being pointed out as usual when it comes to this government and all of the lies and deceit from a legacy of lies from a country that's never been great ever? It's always just been a nightmare that's been painted to be something wonderful for a certain demographic of people that are now waking up to the reality that they're not that special based on the complexion of their skin. And they're starting to realize that the spiritual warfare affects everybody because everybody's a spiritual being having a physical experience here on this realm. Isn't it a concern that there is a big epidemic when it comes to opioids and just prescription drugs overall that are killing people all around the world and in record numbers for the so-called Caucasian so-called race here in the United States of America? Aren't these major concerns for people? Okay. Well, now that we got that out the way, what's always been a great distraction? What's always been a great distraction is police brutality. Now, let me tell you, I'm one that I don't like it. I've been in situations where I've been assaulted when I was a teenager by police. I've been harassed by police all throughout my 20s when I was living in upstate New York. I've had a lot of good experiences too. I've had more bad than good, but I've had a reasonable amount of good experiences with police to know that not every police officer is a bad person, an egotistical asshole or somebody that's got a chip on their shoulder. I've met police officers that have an extreme, and I use the word extreme, a high amount of empathy and common sense. Unfortunately, those are far in between, but I've had the experiences. But understand that there is something called propaganda. And when it comes to Satan, when it comes to the forces that shouldn't be, and you're going to hear me say it a lot from now on, when it comes to Satan, because Satan is the nucleus to all of this, because the very people that are deceiving us and putting every valiant effort into doing that every single day, they venerate demons and Satan. They venerate Satan as their Lord and Master. So that's the nucleus. And here at the Network of Awareness, we're always going to get to the nucleus. Why? Because if you haven't figured it out yet, awareness is as important as breathing in oxygen. These days, awareness of the Most High is like having a superpower along with having some type of protection from this wickedness, because the closer you get to the Most High through the word of the Most High and through putting the word in action and living it and living that life that the Messiah taught us how to live, you get protected. It keeps you focused instead of getting diverted into the satanic ways. I'm very aware of these malevolent, evil things that are put out here. And this is why I created this show. Because if you're not going to understand that you're being lied to, how will you ever understand that there is something called the truth? You won't. You won't understand what's truth to you or what is actually true, because you're going to believe in the lie and accept that lie as the truth. Plain and simple. It's really not complex. Life has been made to be complex because that's how these forces that shouldn't be get to thrive in their propaganda. So let's look up propaganda. And these are all things that we discuss here. So I think it's very important that we start getting the definition so people can really understand the purpose of why this show even exists and what is it that we as a network here, and I say we because even though it's my network, I say we because this is for the children of the Most High. We're in this together. Anybody that I bring on this show is serving great purpose. And whether they have different belief systems, they're still serving great purpose. Now, propaganda means information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Boom, done. Police brutality is used for that very reason. And the reason I say this is because what happened to Mr. Nichols happens every single day in America, somewhere in America. Every day. You know how many times from 1990 to 96 that I see things like that? Now, I'm gonna bring a lot of things to awareness here because this is some heavy propaganda. And whenever you see a distraction like this, which is pretty much around the clock, it's very organized and it's periodic, but the periods are becoming more frequent because the deception is becoming more frequent as far as our government really doing things behind the scenes that they don't want you to know about. That's just the reality. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to play the Smoke and Mirrors media segment because they always give you a little truth with a whole bunch of lies. And while I'm playing this, I got to blow my nose again. This allergy is just ridiculous. But let's listen to the propaganda media here for a second.
Good evening. It's been nearly 48 hours now since the world first saw the video of 5 Memphis police officers brutally beating Tyre Nichols. Even though the 5 officers involved have already been charged with murder, there had been concerns that seeing what happened to Tyre Nichols might lead to violent protests across the country this weekend. But so far, crowds have heeded the call from the Nichols family.
Now, let's keep in mind that mugshot that you see on the art cover, the podcast cover for my show, I put that there for a reason. Now, even though I'm starting to now see the news segments show the officers in their uniforms, barely, And I say barely. And this is the propaganda. Have you noticed that whenever a so-called white man that is a police officer or female that is involved in some type of police brutality, they show you them with the flag in full uniform. Now they're starting to show these brothers, which are all so-called black men, or for you people that like to believe in that African American social construct, but they're showing these men with their ties in the dark Memphis uniforms. But it's you see the badge, like, and I started to see this, but the original one that they were posting up everywhere is the one that you see on the artwork, that mugshot. And that's the Scorpion unit, okay? And we're going to get into that a little bit, the Scorpion. We're going to look up what the Scorpion is as far as insects and all that. But let's continue.
To stay calm and protest peacefully. Still, it's obvious the original police report stating that a confrontation occurred and that the suspect had a shortness of breath does not match the video. Tonight, we'll delve into what this incident might represent about policing in America.
And that's protocol too with a lot of police officers. They're always going to lie on the report. They always do. It's very rare that you're going to get an honest police report from an honest police officer. They're always going to lie on the report. Why? To protect their ass. Just like many people throughout the United Shenanigans of America do at work. There's always somebody trying to cover their ass, and they're going to do whatever they can to do that. They're going to lie, and they're going to lie some more until their ass gets covered. And most of the time in an industry like a police force or department, it is code. It is tradition. It is goes without saying type of culture that you cover each other's ass, especially when it comes to an incident like this. Now, before I play this video, keep in mind that this is a great distraction for many reasons that I'm going to point out here. Now, whether he's dead or not, which, I believe he may be dead already, okay? And it's very unfortunate, but keep in mind that isn't it convenient, considering the circumstances when it comes to police brutality, that all of the officers are so-called black men? Isn't that convenient? Because normally we usually see some type of police brutality when it comes to black and brown men with so-called white men that are police officers. So this is what makes the story interesting, makes it very interesting. And already, as they've already reported, you having all of these protests, and some of them are getting violent and turning into riots. And it's going to be interesting from my perspective, as far as the way I analyze these types of situations. It's going to be interesting to see how long this lasts, because how long this lasts will determine the severity of the deceptive diversion, on what they're diverting you from, keeping your attention or straying your attention away from what's really going on behind the scenes. So let's continue.
But we begin with the latest from Memphis. And again, we need to warn you, some of the video is very hard to watch. Here's Priscilla Thompson.
Listen, very hard to watch? I highly doubt that. Why do I say that? Because we've been so desensitized from seeing brutality and murder and blood in not only the media, in social media, in movies, Hollywood, television. Nothing should be hard to watch anymore at this point, because we become so desensitized as a society to see these things, especially our children, especially the younger generations. In their video games, it's insane some of the things that they're exposed to. But on social media, it shouldn't be hard to watch something like this, because we've been seeing it for decades. I mean, this wouldn't be hard to watch for somebody that's in the 1960s. This would be like everyday stuff. So this is not hard to watch. But this is the way they go about the manipulation. Now, like I said, is it hard to see people get beat down and killed? Yeah, like if you have empathy, it's going to affect you on an emotional level if you have a heart. But even when I was watching it, yeah, I was like, damn, that's bad. But I've become desensitized from seeing this, because I've been seeing this as a kid all the way up into my current age as a middle-aged man. I mean, this is clockwork. But this is sensationalism at its best to serve a propaganda agenda. And this is to divert, and to deceive and deceive.
Southbound on Ross.
The Memphis Police Department taking drastic action this weekend, permanently deactivating its Scorpion unit, formed to fight violent street crime. The move comes just a day after 5 of its officers were seen brutally beating Tyree Nichols on video.
Watch out.
Units of that kind sometimes can, both in Memphis and around the country, can sometimes, breed a culture of over-aggressiveness.
Silent surveillance.
Breed a culture of over-aggressiveness. I think this is way beyond over-aggressiveness. This is murder. This is no different than a gang assaulting an innocent bystander in the street and beating them to death. And this particular gang, known as the Police Department of the United Shenanigans of America, is no different. Now, the scene that you just heard on the broadcast, they're punching him, kicking him, trying to hold him down, while somebody not only already tased him at this point, but now is spraying a shitload of pepper spray in his face. I mean, the level of abuse, it doesn't make sense. But we're going to make sense of it when it comes to propaganda, because I'm just going to say it now. I think this was an Illuminati hit, just like it was for George. That's what I think. I think this was a hit. I think this is a well-planned hit for Deceptive Diversion, as many other ones, Trayvon Martin to be one. They don't make sense, but it does if you understand how these Masonic orders operate, how they move. And one of their favorite things is to get you distracted with something that's going to stir you up emotionally on a level that you can't even understand. But because we have empathy, most of us, we're going to react to that, especially people like myself and many others that have experienced nothing but oppression in this country in all different types of ways. So of course, we're going to be frustrated, but you got to see this with your spiritual eyes to understand how this all works. Because the more you are aware, the more you are prepared to deal with these types of things. And I'm not saying to ignore it, but what I am saying is that understand why they're making it a focal point for you. Is to keep you distracted from what really is going on. Because this, and it's not to belittle the situation, but this goes on every day. So let's continue, because there's so much more to say.
Footage appears to show the officers holding Nichols up, then repeatedly punching him in the face. All 5 ex-officers now charged with murder are set to face a judge next month. Attorneys for 2 of the officers say
now they're showing these mugshots again with their height, right? Like mugshots that you see with criminals. Isn't it interesting that they're showing their mugshots? Like if you didn't know that these were police officers based on the commentary, you would think that these are some hood rats from the hood that wound up doing some trifling stuff. That's what you would think. You would think this is some gang members or some ignorant thugs that did some stupidity in the streets, like every day, like what goes on every day. You wouldn't be like, oh, those are police officers. You would look at them completely different. So it's very interesting when it comes to black men that they're depicted just like this, even when they're police officers. Now, this is one thing that I've been having discussions with people, and people have, of course, even people with experience in police officers have different perspectives on how this went down and why certain situations happen like this. But even the police officers are saying like, this is just so wrong. This is one of the reasons why I think this is propaganda. And the reason why is because they had such a hard time handcuffing him. Once a man or woman is handcuffed, you put them inside the car, right? You put them inside the car. Everybody knows this. Even people that never been arrested know this. But in the footage, they're showing you holding him up with his hands behind his back. Why are no handcuffs on him? Why did it take so long? And then in some of the footage, they actually let him get up and start running after they tased him. Makes no sense, but yet it does. This was all planned, people. I know a lot of people are going to disagree and say this was just another incident where cops lost control. Did they really? Because these men are well trained. One of them is an ex-CO, okay? He specializes in detaining inmates that are rowdy and stuff. And apparently he actually actually, there's an inmate or an ex-con that basically said he got beat down by one of these officers when they were a CO and got slammed into the sink and all that because he was trying to flush a cell phone or something like that. But why did it take so long to handcuff him? And I think that he actually got handcuffed when he was lifeless. Then they put the cuffs on him and barely gave him any medical treatment with the EMTs. This is all like you can see it from the aerial view of that. And that's another thing. They got an aerial view. They got the body cam. I mean, people, we gotta wake up to this propaganda, people. We gotta wake up to Satan's ways because this is not an accident. This was purposely done to keep you distracted, to get all of your attention away from the real demons to now putting your focus on 5 police officers. That's just one reason. The second, before I continue to play, matter of fact, I'm going to play this and then I'll give you my second reason because they're going to talk about it a little bit.
Their clients will plead not guilty. All of this as the initial police account of the incident is now being called into question. It stated that during the initial stop, a confrontation occurred, but video shows officers approached Nichols' car with guns drawn and yanked him out of the driver's seat.
Damn, I didn't do anything.
Meanwhile, calls for change continue to grow.
We've got to not only enact police reform, we've got to dismantle these systems that allow police officers to dehumanize individuals.
Still, lawmakers remain divided on the path forward.
I don't know that any law, any training, any reform is going to change. You know, this man was handcuffed. They continued to beat him.
Back in Memphis today, a time for prayer.
We lift again the family of Tyre Nichols.
As a community in mourning now struggles to move forward.
What comes next here?
To seek that healing and to be active in that process of healing. And I think a part of that is seeing that justice is working itself out.
Priscilla joins me now from Memphis. Priscilla, we're learning new details about Tyre Nichols' funeral.
That's right, Kate. The service will be held Wednesday morning at this church. And tonight we're also learning that the family will attend the State of the Union next week. Kate?
Priscilla, thank you. The death of Tyre Nichols is once again bringing up difficult questions.
Now, you heard what they said. The family is going to be attending the State of the Union next week. So when they do the State of the Union address, the family is going to be there. Probably one of the family members is going to speak. And it's probably going to be the one that's most eloquent out of all of them. That leads me to my next thing. Everybody's saying, oh, he came from a good family. The family's handling it well. The family's this. Everything is positive about the family. One thing we do know, especially when it came to the Trayvon Martin case, what do we find out about the father? Found out that the father was in the Masonic order and actually graduated to a higher degree after this assassination, after the assassination on his son, the hit. Now, what else do we know? What we know from that situation is always pay close attention to the family, right? Just like the brother, and please forgive me if I can't remember his name, because I wasn't even thinking about him until now, but the brother who got shot in Dallas by the female police officer that literally went inside his apartment and shot him because she thought she was going to her place or something, and shot this brother while he was eating ice cream and watching TV. What did the family do? Family hugged her, the younger brother hugged her. The family forgave her, okay? And I'm not saying that forgiveness is not something powerful, because it obviously is. You know, that's what the word of the Most High teaches us, is about forgiveness. But the way that went down was so suspect, right? Even the judge. When have we ever seen a judge, let alone a so-called black judge, hugging a white police officer for shooting a black man, an unarmed black man? Didn't make sense, right? But that's because that family is involved in something, and it's usually in a Masonic order. So if you care to pay attention, pay close attention to where this family, and I'm talking about everybody that's involved in that family, where they're going to, what type of life they're going to be living in the near future. Pay close attention to that. And I know already, to my conspiracy is not a theorist that they're going to be doing some heavy investigating. I already know. If I go to BitChute or Rumble in the next week or two, somebody's going to find some dirt on this family. Because another thing I wanted to point out that doesn't make sense, but it does when it comes to this propaganda, is why in the hell a detective Scorpion unit that handles serious crimes like homicide, drug dealing, guns, all that. Those what those units are for. They're looking for the individuals that got guns, that are, in gangs, committing serious crimes. This was a traffic infraction, and we still don't even know what the damn traffic infraction is, because from the video, they roll up on him like he's Pablo Escobar. Literally, all of them, guns drawn out, killed, didn't even make sense, but yet it does, people, because this is where you got to start connecting the dots and become more aware of this experience, because everything in this country is a lie. Everything is a lie. Not one damn thing is honest when it comes to how this country operates, especially when it comes to these branches. And the media is the fifth arm. It's the fifth branch of this government, because they are the focal point when it comes to pushing this propaganda. They are the propaganda pimps. And they keep showing these mugshots. That's another thing. That's why I put it on the front cover, so you can get that image in your mind to understand how this country operates. We don't ever see white officers depicted like this. I'm not saying they don't have pictures like this, but it's never brought out in the media like that. They always show them all dressed nice with their suits on, or their uniforms, with their hats, with the American flag. And they have those pictures with these brothers too, but it's somewhat blurry. Like, it's not the way it's shown. But why? Because this country thrives off of the division that race brings, because race is a lie. Race is a lie. The Most High never created race. Man did. The Most High created spiritual beings to have a physical experience. The Most High created us in his image. That's it. Simple. So this whole thing for race, I think a lot of people need to wake up to the reality there is no such thing. That is man. And whenever it comes from man, it usually comes from Satan, because Satan is the master of men that are of this world. See, when you're a man of the Most High, you're not of this world. You live here, you experience, you endure, but you're not of this world. You of the Heavenly Father. And this right here, when it comes to the way they rolled up on him, which is my third reason of why this is propaganda. It's like, why? Number one, if it's even a traffic infraction, why in the hell are you rolling up on a brother who's a skateboarder and photographer? And what's the other thing he does? I can't remember the other thing that his occupation, but the brother's like skateboarder, photography, like he's not a drug dealer. He's not peddling guns. And if he ran a red light, why are you pulling up on him like he's an American gangster? Doesn't make sense, people, does it? Doesn't make sense. And these are all the things that they're showing you to keep you distracted. And people, you know what people are focused on right now? Oh man, another black man got killed. A black man got brutalized. This happens every day, but you focused on this one, or you're focused on anyone that they show you. See, when George Floyd was getting choked out and brutalized as well, that was a big distraction, wasn't it? Why? Because everybody was home. Everybody was on lockdown. The world was on lockdown. Everybody was home with their families watching this on television. And what wound up happening? We had a global international protest. A global international protest. That's what we had. Everybody and their mama was aware of this police brutality with George Floyd. And everybody started protesting, from China to Tokyo, Japan, to Australia, to the UK, to America, South America, Brazil. I mean, everywhere. And most of y'all still can't see it. Hopefully you will start to. Hopefully you're going to start seeing things with your spiritual eyes, people. I hope so, because this is another deceptive diversion to to lead you astray from what's really being put into action when it comes to the one world order beast system. The one world order beast system is upon us, brothers and sisters. We are active participants in the Most High's book of Revelations within the New Testament. Nobody can refute that. Nobody can go against that anymore. You can't tell me that we're not living in the book of Revelations. It's too much synchronicity in events. It's synchronized. It is meant to be. It's prophesized. And there's so much going on with this North American Union Treaty, with the World Health Organization and things they got cooking, from the CDC onto the other United Nations. I mean, there's a lot of things that are being put into action that we are about to experience when it comes to the one world order beast system. So this is no different. So I'm going to continue with the coverage, and I'll be right back.
And discussions about race and about policing in this country. Dana Griffin reports.
Tonight, after a heavy weekend, the nation grappling with another black man dying after a violent encounter with police. But in Memphis, all 5 officers charged with the murder of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols are also black.
What did you just hear? Race, black, police brutality. This is how you get America to divide, to be conquered. This is how you also get America as a whole to become distracted, to become diverted from the real serious matters. Now, am I saying that police brutality is not a serious matter? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that this is being used to stray you away, your attention away from the serious matters that are going to affect everybody collectively when it comes to laws being passed. Okay, so the fact that they always use race as a way to divide and conquer, but also to distract, this is no different. And many of you are going to see what I'm talking about in the months to come. Because while this is going on, there's a hell of a lot of other things going on that are of serious concern, that now, as a country, politically, whatever you want to call it, our level of awareness has now been diverted into this deception. Now, let's listen to this.
The city's police chief says they have to take responsibility no matter who's wearing the uniform.
So it takes race off the table, but it does indicate to me that bias might be a factor also.
Others say there are systemic issues.
We have to talk about this institutionalized police culture that has this unwritten.
Oh man, Ben Crumb. Oh, whenever you see Al Sharpton and Ben Crumb, oof. Now I don't see Al Sharpton here because he seems to. I think Al Sharpton's on vacation lately. But Ben Crumb, there's something that is suspect about the parents. I don't know what it is yet because I haven't had no time to really research it, and I'm probably not. I'm pretty sure some other brothers and sisters will. But there is something suspect with the parents, especially. This is a blueprint, brothers and sisters, that we've been seeing for the past 5 years. Have we not? Have we not been seeing this? Matter of fact, I would say this is the blueprint for the past 10 years. And he seems to be the attorney that is always 95%, because I've seen other attorneys from time to time in cases like this that are in the press conference, leading the press conference on the pulpit. But this is a blueprint for what's going on here when it comes to this propaganda. It's like you always see him, you always see the family members, you always see specific people every time this happens. Is there no other attorneys, so-called black attorneys besides this man? Why does it always have to be him? Always. Never fails. This is a PSYOP mission. This got manipulation written all over it. If you're seeing it with your spiritual eyes, and just looking at the image of the mother and the father, who are very well spoken, right? That are now going to be part of the State of Union address or be present there. And I'm pretty sure they're going to make a focal point in the State of the Union address that we got to fix this problem of race and police brutality. Didn't they say that in the 1960s? And we're now in 2023, damn near 80 years later, and we still, or should I say over 60 years later, and we still dealing with this? So if you was trying to fix it in the 1960s, why is it still yet to be fixed? And now you got, and this is nothing new, but for the sake of this broadcast, now you got 5 so-called black men beating down 1 black man, which, by the way, that happens every day here in the United Shenanigans of America. Shout out to all my people outside the U.S. that listen to the broadcast. I'm letting y'all know this happens every day, Monday through Sunday. Somebody is getting their ass whooped, some part of town and some state in this country. But the focal point is on this one. And I can tell you from personal experiences, from things that I've witnessed growing up in New York City, I seen beatings like this in the 90s.
In law that you can engage in excessive use of force against black and brown people.
I think that sometimes police officers, black police officers, Latino police officers can feel a real pressure to show that they are part of the team and to distinguish themselves from the communities that are really being dehumanized that they're actually policing.
In the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement, several police departments have tried to expand the number of officers of color, hoping to bridge the gap between the community. In Memphis, 58% of officers are black, a city where more than half of residents are people of color. But some, like Tyre Nichols' mother, says she wants accountability regardless of race.
People try to say black people, we only try to go after white officers. That's not true. We don't care what color the officer is. We want bad officers taken off the force.
But others believe bad police officers are simply that, bad police officers, and there can be mistrust even when officers look like them.
You don't think this has to do with race?
Not at all. They did this because this is what they wanted to do, and this is what they chose to do, and it's because they were unfit to be police officers.
Robert Sacedo has been working as a community advocate since the Rodney King beating.
I highly doubt that they chose to do this. I mean, that could be a possibility, but I think they were ordered to do this. I truly believe that, because what other reason do they have to waste their time on a traffic infraction when they are the Scorpion unit? All right. Now, before we even continue with this, let's look that up real quick. Let's look up Scorpion unit, or I'm sorry, let's look up Scorpion, because I'm not playing around this episode, man. This stuff is sickening, but it has to be exposed. It really does. And that's what we do here at the Network of Awareness. So let's look up Scorpion. All right. Scorpion. All right. So we have a scorpion here. So what is a scorpion? It is a terrestrial origin or pincers similar to those of a lobster, and a venomous sting at the end of its jointed tail, which it can hold curved over its back. Most kinds live in tropical and subtropical areas. Used in names of arachnids, I forgot how to pronounce that. Arachnid, resembling a scorpion. Zodiacal sign Scorpio, the constellation Scorpius. A whip with metal points. What is the simple definition of scorpion? Well, let's look up the definition here. So a scorpion we know is very venomous, right? Some scorpion stings can kill a man. It has the Greek origin. So the Greek origin is Scorpios. The Latin word of it is Scorpio. And then Old French into Middle English is now called Scorpion, right? But it's based off the Greek, it derives from Greek language, which is Scorpios. All right. So venomous. So you have a police force that is called Scorpion Unit. So when I look at that from looking at it as a metaphor, they're basically put into the streets to inject venom into the streets of Memphis, right? Doesn't that make sense? Why other reason would they have a name called Scorpion? By the way, which in the news broadcast, they talk about how the city of Memphis is dismantling the unit now based on this recent occurrence with this police brutality. Let's continue.
In 1991, he views racism as part of the issue here, but not the only one.
It does speak to the fact that there's a culture of hiding behind the cloud of authority, if you would, using the badge to engage in ways that you otherwise would not.
Is there a solution?
Yes, I think there's a solution that we have to have more citizens engaged in the conversation.
A conversation once again in the national spotlight.
More citizens engaged in the conversation. That's your solution. Okay, that's the solution. So having more citizens talk about it is going to resolve this problem. All right. These are supposed to be your educated scholars, by the way, saying this nonsense. But I'm supposed to be the dumb one because I dropped out of high school and I don't have a high school diploma. But you got these people with degrees saying some of the dumbest shit that I've ever heard in my life.
Spotlight, Dana Griffin, NBC News.
Now to the mass shooting in California.
Okay. So, and there's never a dull moment. Like I could have did a show about this mass shooting. Okay. That's another PSYOP mission but you have an environment here in the United States of America where it's just volatile. That's why you really got to be focused on the Most High all the time. Like there should never be a dull moment between your relationship between the Most High. There never should be a dull moment with what the Most High's Messiah taught us. There should never be a dull moment when it comes to your spiritual awareness, when it comes to the fruits of your spirit, when it comes to following the laws and the commandments and the statutes that have been placed here for us to operate in an orderly manner as human beings, as children of the Most High. Should never be a dull moment. Like your relationship, your connection should always be solid. And if it's being weakened, then that means you have to intensify your intentions or your attention, and you're submitting to the will of the Most High to work through you, opposed to the other way around, vice versa. Because this distraction right here is leading people to more division. It's going to lead, and you know who I also feel sorry for? I feel sorry for police officers. I feel sorry for those police officers that wake up every morning to go to work and do right by people. Because they're out there. I know a couple. They wake up and do their job the right way. Now they have to experience the backlash of what these officers did based on a very high level form of propaganda to deceive and to divert people's attention. They're going to suffer too, because when it comes to so-called black and brown people and white people, like, listen, white people have always been getting their ass whooped. You just don't ever see it, but they started to show it now on social media. Like you get to see it on social media now. But when you think about it, this is wicked to the core, and this is very deceptive to the core. And like I said before, some of the things, so we could just recap before I end this broadcast, some things to recap here is, one is, why is it a traffic infraction? Why are they pulling somebody over when the Scorpion unit, that's not their responsibility? Why did they draw guns on him? The biggest one for me is, how in the hell did they not get handcuffs on him? They're just holding him. Like, they're not really putting forth an effort to get him in handcuffs ever. Throughout the whole footage, you don't ever really see them. They're like, stop, stop moving, stop moving. It's like, make him stop moving. There's five of you. But no, they decided to tase him. They decided to punch him, kick him, choke him. I mean, soccer kicking people, punching him, holding his arms behind the back. When those two officers were holding him, they could have put handcuffs right there. They had his hands behind his back. He wasn't moving because the other officer had enough to go into motion and swing on him to get a nice little right, straight, blow to his face. Why didn't they put handcuffs at that point? And these are the things that you have to be aware of when it comes to this propaganda, because I'm telling you, people, this was not an accidental thing. This was not a coincidental, because if there's anything that this podcast radio show teaches, is that coincidence is an illusion. It doesn't exist. Only the, coincidence doesn't exist, people. There's no such thing. Only the illusion of it, right? Like it says in that movie V. That's the only thing that exists within illusion, coincidence, is the illusion of it. That's what's real, but not this coincidental. Everything happens for a reason, and that reason is there to serve you. And in this particular case, this is serving us, brothers and sisters in the United States, as a deceptive diversion, as a great distraction from what's really going on, that is in the progress of working to destroy and to control. And that's all of us. There is a one world order system that is evolving. that is being placed, that the pieces of the puzzles are being put together to execute this great reset, so to speak. And this is just another form of deceptive diversion to get your attention to stray away from this. So I hope that this particular, segment that I covered makes some sense. Of course, this is based on my opinion. This is not a fact. This is just based on what I'm perceiving. And I'm sharing this for people that are critical thinkers. But take this information for what it is, or you can take everything I say with a grain of salt and be like, oh, that's not the case. But maybe it is. So all I ask is to just look at this with your spiritual critical eyes and see what's really going on here, because there's so much that doesn't make sense here. Too much, in my opinion. But with that being said, let's play a couple of instrumentals here that I want to let loose for the broadcast, and then we're going to end this show. All right?
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
Shoutouts to all my brothers and sisters out in Tennessee. Peace and blessings to all the brothers and sisters in the U.S. enduring this struggle temporarily. Shoutouts to all my brothers and sisters in the UK, Canada. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters in Brazil, Mexico, Ireland, Austria, Russia. Shout out to the brothers and sisters throughout South America, throughout North America, throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa. Please remember, download the show. Please leave a review if you can. Leave a rating on your podcast listening platforms. And if you can, go to Apple or Spotify, leave a review and a 5-star rating. Let's overcome these shadow banned algorithms.
Aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist. My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist. My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist. My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
How you doing? How you doing?
My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist. My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist. Is a network full of awareness and gifts like Aura, the informationalist.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to this live broadcast of the Network of Awareness. This is all the informationalists saying peace, love, and light. And when you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel. Find your way through the darkness, brothers and sisters. Until we do this again tomorrow, I say to you, stay safe out there, because we live in a very treacherous world. And all praises to the Most High and the Messiah Christ for all the gifts that have been given and continue to be given. So why don't we just give them back and start really living in these living and bearing these fruits of the Spirit. Shalom, brothers and sisters.